Joelma, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's good to have you.
Good to be here.
Now, your last name, how do you pronounce it?
Okay, do you want me to say in English or?
English. So English would be
So Regis.
Regis.
Yeah.
And you're fine with that?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Okay, you don't cringe when somebody says Regis?
Oh,
no? But there are other pronunciations.
I mean, either Regis or like in Portuguese, it's really Regis.
Regis.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the more formal way of saying your name. Okay, Joelma Regis. Do people call you Regis sometimes?
Oh, well, no.
No? So mostly Regis is what you get.
I mean, most of the people call me Joelma.
So just Joelma.
Just Joelma.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Now, you're from Brazil.
Brazil.
So you grew up there.
Yes, I was born there in the south of Brazil, like very south near Argentina and Paraguay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it get cold there?
It does, yeah. It's pretty much like here, like Houston, actually.
Does it snow?
In some parts of the state, yeah. But not, usually no, it doesn't.
Well, just like Houston. Do you get the crazy weather swings that we do here?
Yeah, especially nowadays, yeah. Yeah.
So you grew up there, you went through your whole schooling?
Yes, until, yeah, I finished high school, and then I started college, and then I moved, but yeah.
Were you Catholic, raised Catholic?
Yes, I was born in a very Catholic family. My mom and dad, like, took us to church all the time. My dad, like, we always teased him. We told him, you should bring a bed and live in the sacristy and leave it there because, like, he was always in the church. Yeah, so we were pretty...
Do you have brothers and sisters?
4 sisters. Yeah, only sisters.
Where do you fall in there?
I'm the 4th. So,
okay.
Yeah,
you're the baby of
5.
the family.
Yeah, so I have one younger sister.
Oh.
So we are 5.
Oh, 5.
5
okay.
girls, yeah.
5 in all, okay.
Yeah, my mom always tells us that my dad was always waiting for a boy, but the boy never came.
Wow.
So only girls. But then he loved his girls. But
5.
Yeah,
Wow.
5 of us, yeah.
Are you, most of you here in the United States or
No.
all over the world?
No, I'm the only one here. And my 4 sisters are in Brazil. One of them, she's a consecrated woman like me. So
Okay.
she lives in the northeast of Brazil. So it's pretty far. And 3 of my other sisters live still in my hometown.
Are they married?
They're
Do they have
married.
kids?
They have 2 kids each.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you get to go back often?
I just went for Christmas, this past Christmas. And I go, I mean, not very often because also it's pretty expensive home. But yeah, I go.
How long is the
Once in a-
flight?
Oh, I think is it 10 hours?
Is it a direct flight?
No.
No.
Yeah, so that's why I'm not sure because, yeah.
Because of all the layover time and all of that.
But I
But-
think it's probably like 9 hours.
Total flight time.
Total is more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because also I always get...
But in the area, about 9 hours.
More or less.
Okay. It's not that bad.
Not that bad, yeah.
Is there a big time difference or are we in a similar time
We are
zone?
3 hours difference.
So it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad either.
Yeah. When we fly to the Philippines to visit my relatives, it's the opposite side of the globe. So
I
it's a
can imagine.
huge change in
That's
terms
a
of
huge change.
time zones and jet lag and all of that. But that's not
No,
so bad. 9 hours and 3 hours difference.
No.
Yeah, it's just like you're going to like California
going
or
to
something.
California.
Yeah. So you said you're a consecrated woman. What exactly does that mean?
Where so there are consecrated in many different. So I am part of the Focolare. So I am called, actually in Italian, I am a Focolarina.
Okay.
In Italy, we never say I'm a consecrated woman.
Okay.
I just say I'm a Focolarina.
And then Italians know what that means.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there are consecrated women who are consecrated with different groups.
Okay.
So it's different for everyone, but for us, so we basically live in community. So it's pretty much similar to the life of the sisters.
Okay.
But we don't work fully like for the convent, like if we lived in a convent. Or
Okay.
we work in our regular jobs and we try to make a difference wherever we are.
Okay. So you're almost a sister, but not really.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Okay.
Like it's really another vocation. Yeah, so like in my house, for example, like I lived with many different people, but I lived with nurses, so like they would go, to the night shift or to the day shift, and so
and then you bring your
nurses
faith with you.
and you bring it there. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, teachers or engineers or like all kinds of professions or artists, and so you try to make a difference in that environment where you work, like to bring Jesus there, to bring the light of Jesus there. Focolare means a hearth, like the fireplace.
Okay.
That is like the Italian, the English translation for focolare. And focolarina is like that, the carrier of that fire, the fire of the love of God. Yeah. So like I should be bringing that warmth and that fire wherever I go.
That's awesome. So as a consecrated woman, as a focolare, are you allowed to get married or?
So there are different vocations within Focolare. So many of the women and men who felt the vocation to follow, to live this spirituality, but they feel their vocation, first of all, is to get married, then they do get married. And they live the spirituality. But those of us who felt the vocation to really give ourselves completely to God, then that's it. Like we take vows. Perpetual vows. So we don't get married.
Okay. Yeah. And you personally, did you take those vows? Okay. So you will be single for the rest of your life.
Yes.
All right. So let's back up to your background. Did you go to a Catholic school growing up?
No. I went to a public school. Just a regular kid.
Did you think about becoming a sister growing up or a consecrated woman? No idea whatsoever.
No. I mean, actually, when I was preparing for my first communion, my sister and I, both of us, were having our first communion together. And my mom told us, on that day, you can ask anything to Jesus.
Okay.
And Jesus will give you. And we were like, oh, what should we ask? And, but of course, like I couldn't ask, for toys or clothes or, anything
or
like that.
Or a PlayStation or something like that. No, right?
So I didn't know what to ask. And I asked my sister, what are you asking? She said, I don't know. Okay, let's ask Mom. So Mom, what should we ask? And she said, well, how about asking Jesus for you to become a nun when you grow up, like sisters? And then I was, okay, that sounds good. I mean, I didn't have anything against it. I was 8 at the time.
That early, huh?
Yeah, I was 8 years old. And my sister did the same. So the two of us asked Jesus, for that grace. And I remember a few years later when I was a teenager, even like pretty soon, like I was only 12 and I already started I don't know, like having those desires of, I don't know, getting to know the word. And I don't know, I loved to dance. So I just wanted to go out and just like discover life. Like I was kind of like tired of just that circle of home, school, and church. That all we did. Now like home, school, and church.
Were you sheltered growing up pretty much? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, no, but we played a lot. Like we had friends coming, all neighbors, coming to the house, and we played a lot. So we were okay, but somehow I had the desire for more, Okay. I just needed to get to know more than
spread your wings and see where it would take you.
Yeah, exactly. So I remember that once in a while, that thought of being a sister, like I will, oh my gosh, I asked Jesus that. And so I remember like once in a while, like with my simplicity of like 12 years old, I would say, Jesus, please don't listen to me. Like I was just a kid. Like I didn't know what I was asking for. Like I just didn't want to. I mean, not that I had anything against the sisters. Like I knew some sisters and I loved them, but I just felt that was not for me. So I wanted, I didn't want anything to do with becoming a nun. And so I also was, I think like we are 5 sisters and I was like the worst of them.
Really? Oh, You were the black sheep in the family,
Yeah,
huh?
actually, one day my mom even told me that, like, do you want to be the black sheep of the family? Because I did something bad. Like I got home so late, and anyway, I got her very upset. But I mean, she loved me. Like my mom really like. I think my mom saved my vocation.
Really?
Yeah, because somehow like she had such faith in me because I was so rebel. Like I was always wanting something else, and I escaped from school. Like I did so much.
Oh, you skipped classes,
Oh
huh?
yes, I went out with my friends. I
Did you sneak out of the house a lot, or
out of
just stay out too late?
I would stay out too late. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, once in a while I would sneak out too, but just like I didn't do anything bad.
Just go dancing?
Yeah,
Because
like
you're a dancer.
Or
right?
yeah, or just like go out with my friends and things like that. But my mom, I think I was 14, she kept telling me like, why don't you go to the youth group in the parish? Like they seem so good, and I was like, Mom, that's not going to be fun, and I just like didn't want to do that. But she kept insisting, and then I thought, okay, I'll give it a try. And I went, and I loved it. I loved, and actually, I mean, I saw it as a way for me to get out a little bit more, because with the youth of the parish, my mom and dad would be good because I was with the church. So it was a little bit of an excuse for me to, get out.
Oh, yes, you still followed your parents' wishes, but were
yes.
Nice way to play the rules, huh?
Yeah, I know. It was bad. It was bad. But I think it was good that I stayed with them, because in that way I didn't do something too bad. I could have ended up
Yeah, at least you were the good group of people.
I was with a good group of people.
Yeah, it wasn't the wrong crowd.
Yeah. But we went to parties like every weekend, so I loved that. Yes.
And you went dancing.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Were you like in a dance troupe in high school or anything?
No.
That's what you just like to go out and dance?
I loved to go out and dance. And like when I was little, I wanted to be a ballerina, like I always thought of. But I wanted to be so many things when I was little. But
what types of things?
Oh, I had all kinds of. Yeah, like I wanted to be an actress, I wanted to be a singer, I wanted to be a model. I had like all kinds of, like the other day I remember this for some reason, that when I was little, with one of my sisters, we would do fashion show outside of my house. We would just like, my mom.
For the neighbors to see? Or?
Yeah, just our friends.
Okay.
So we would, I would just get fabrics from my mom. I would just get everything that she had, and I would just make up my own costumes. And we had like from the gate to the garage door, we had this nice
it's like a pathway,
like cement, but like two things of cement, and then in the middle there was like a very nice grass that my mom had with like little flowers. So I would just like make up my own costumes, and I would just,
and that was your ramp.
Yeah,
you go back and forth on that.
Yeah. I was just thinking of this the other day. So I did. So I wanted to be a ballerina, but my parents couldn't afford to send me to school. There are 5 of us, and so when one wants something, then everybody has to get it.
Oh, of course, yes.
So my mom always said, that is like surplus. Like you have to focus on your studies. And so I always thought, well, when I grow old, I will just do it myself. I will pay for myself. And so actually I started working very early in life. Like I wanted my own money. Like I just wanted to be independent. I was only 14.
Oh, that is pretty early.
Yeah. And I asked my mom, I want to work. I want to have my money.
What did you do?
Just like to buy clothes and things like that.
But I mean, what work?
What I did? Yeah. So I worked in a boutique. Actually it was a children's boutique, like children's clothes.
Okay.
So I would be selling.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was part of your interest anyway, because of your fashion show thing.
Yes. Yeah.
So what brought you here to the United States?
my community, the Focolare.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you discover them?
So when I was 18, my uncle came to my house, and he was inviting my mom to this gathering that was called Mariapolis. And I was in my bedroom. I was doing something, and I could hear the conversation. They were in the kitchen with my mom and my sister. They were just like having coffee, like in the afternoon, and talking about this. And I just felt there was something interesting about that. Like first, I was like Mariapolis. I was just coming up with cities like Indianapolis and other cities. What is that Mariapolis? And then I remember going out of my room and asking him, why are you not inviting me? And he was like, oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, if you want to go, sure. Yes. Like he was a little, I think he didn't expect that I was going to be interested in going, on a retreat.
Did you know? So you had no idea it was a retreat?
Well, he was saying that it was a retreat.
Okay.
Yeah. But this name was strange.
Okay.
And so, I don't know, somehow
it intrigued you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought, why are you not inviting me? He said, sure. Yeah. So then he told me more about it. So I found out Mariapolis is City of Mary. And I thought, okay, well, why not? Let me try this. And because with the young people in church, we went for so many retreats and things, and it was always fun, and I thought, why not? So I went there, and that was just like unexpected. Like I just, that retreat just changed my life.
So it wasn't like the other retreats that you've been to. This was just something completely different.
Completely different. I think because the other retreats were so much fun. Like I was more like for fun.
Okay.
And I always ended up dating somebody after that retreat. Like, I met someone during the retreat, and then I was dating, and or something. There was something like fun, but not so deep. And that one was like, it just went straight to my heart.
How old were you again at this time?
18.
18. Okay, so at that point you did do a little dating here and there.
Oh, yeah, I did a lot of dating.
A lot of dating. Anything really serious?
Yeah, one guy I dated for 2 years, and we were going to get married. I mean,
Really?
Yeah, he bought a lot, and he wanted to start building and all of that.
Was this before that retreat?
Before, yeah.
And so you were actually talking about getting married?
Yeah. It's interesting because he was very convinced that we were going to get married. But on my side, I always said, oh yeah, but we still have time. I'm so young. And, and it was true. I was so young.
Yes. Was he your age or a little older?
He was older.
How old was he?
I always dated guys who were older than me. I guess I always felt I was so mature. And
How much older was he?
He was, I think I was 18. When I started dating him, I was 15, I think. 16, maybe. And he was 20.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty big gap, huh?
Yeah. So I always dated guys who were older than me.
And how were your parents about that? Was it a secret
Well, that one was not a secret anymore. Like my first ones were secret, yeah.
Okay.
But the first boyfriends were just like, just dating here and there. Like,
okay, nothing really serious.
The first one, when I was 15, I dated one guy, and I thought, okay, this one I have to tell my mom and dad. This is my first official. So I did tell my mom. She was very worried because he was not Catholic. He belonged to another church, another Christian church.
Okay.
And my mom was worried that my dad would be really upset. And he would not like that. And so there was that whole,
yes,
commotion at home, all my sisters talking about it. And
of course, and the relatives know too. Yes.
So it was a whole thing. But then my mom really liked him, like when he came to the house. And my dad liked him too. And I was the fourth daughter, so it was not that hard. My first sister, she was the oldest.
She's the oldest is usually the one that goes through all the hard, because it's the first time for the parents and they can't accept it. But by the time it came to you, been there, done that.
Yeah.
It's just another boyfriend, right?
They were okay. Yeah. So
So
we
you
dated
were
for quite a while, for almost a year. I think, yeah, that one. But then I just felt that no, I couldn't. Like I just couldn't stay. I couldn't imagine myself with him the rest of my life.
okay.
Also because we would fight about theological things. No, like he would say, "Why you Catholics do this and that and that," and I would say, "I don't know, but this is what I believe." And so we would fight a lot. And I thought, no, like I don't want this.
You kind of knew deep down it wasn't going to work out.
No.
And is this the one that you who thought he was going to marry, or
he also thought he would marry me, but no, that was the one who lasted on for a year. So,
okay,
yeah.
And then after that,
I dated this other guy who was actually, it's embarrassing to say, but he was my math teacher in high school.
Oh boy,
yeah.
And so how old were you?
So I was 16. Yeah, it was.
You were 16 and he was 20.
16, he was about 20. Yeah.
Oh boy.
I know.
Did you get in trouble? Did he get in trouble?
No, because we waited to tell publicly only after I graduated. So
okay.
It was okay.
There's nothing they could do anymore about that after you had graduated. So you kept it a secret for how long?
I don't remember. For a while. Yeah. At least a secret from the school. I think he started coming to my house.
Oh, but your family knew.
My family knew, yeah.
Okay, wow,
okay
that's
with it, yeah.
Surprising that it didn't get out.
Yeah, but also like I brought him to because in the church, the group of in those days there was no problem of a safe environment. Like we were young adults and youths together. Okay. I was one of the youngest of the group, but most of them were young adults.
Okay.
So I brought him to the group. He became very involved in the church. He became more involved than I was.
Okay.
At the time. So he was one of the leaders of the young adults. And so it was good for him that he dated me, I guess.
Because you brought him to the faith, right?
Yeah.
So you said he thought that you two were going to get married.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He bought property and everything, huh?
Yeah.
Did he actually formally propose to you?
We spoke about it many times, but I always brought up some doubts that it was too soon. And so I said, just let's leave it, for later. But then more and more, I just felt like I didn't like certain things because I didn't like sometimes he was a little jealous. And I always picture myself like, how can I be with someone for the rest of my life who doesn't trust me fully? Because if I'm with him, if I love him, I love him. I'm not going with anybody else. So why can't he trust me? And I just didn't like, that was one of the issues, like not being, I don't know, I wanted my freedom. Like I felt if he trusted me, he would be okay if I went out sometimes with my friends if he couldn't.
Did you feel like he was suffocating you?
Yeah, a little bit.
I've had that experience as well. Oh, yeah. And then it kind of makes you think, if this person doesn't trust me, are they trustworthy themselves? That's another thing,
Exactly, yeah.
So did you break up with him because you were moving to?
Oh, no. So, sorry, I got into this whole explanation. But
no, that's fine.
Back to when your uncle? My uncle came to invite. So
were you still dating him at that time?
I was not dating him anymore.
Oh, so you broke up.
I broke up by that time.
What made you break up?
These issues of like trust and jealousy.
It just became too much.
Yeah. And I guess Jesus knew that I was supposed to be his. And so he just put in my heart some feelings, like, I was not excited anymore about him, about that person. I didn't know that I was going to be excited about Jesus later. But at that time, I don't know, that love just faded away a little bit.
It was no longer new and exciting. Yeah. And so, but when you went to this retreat.
But then when I went to that retreat, anyway, when I got there, I just saw how happy those people were, and I felt there was something different in them. Like I just couldn't touch it. Like I just didn't know what was different about those people. And so I wanted to find out more. And I noticed like those who were on stage, like giving a talk, then I would see them maybe like cleaning or doing something, just like, or coming and talking with us, like with the young people that were there, just like they felt so normal and so real. There wasn't like that air of superiority,
Okay.
of people who spoke, who gave a talk. And then they were just like me, like normal people.
Uh-huh.
That was one, I think, the first thing that attracted me to them. Like I just felt welcomed. I felt at home with them.
You didn't feel like that person is the star and you can't reach them. You felt like they were on the same level as you.
They're simple. I remember the last day, there was one of the ladies who went up to, she wanted to share something. I don't remember what, if she was giving a talk or what. Then I found out she's a doctor, and she was someone really, but she was so simple. And I don't know, like I just felt there was something different there that I had not experienced before. And one of the things that also caught my attention was that in my church, like in my parish, there was something that I really hated when people would gossip.
Okay.
Like, so I would see those people at church, like, at mass and doing this and presentations and, doing so much good there.
Yes.
But then they would be talking against one another. And I would tell my mom, like, why this?
That turns off a lot of people sometimes when people at church gossip against one another. Yeah.
So I didn't like that. And sometimes I wanted to leave my group, leave the church because of that. And my mom said, don't, it's okay. Human beings are like that. We all have our defects. So my mom would try to kind of, make me understand. But then with that group, I didn't see that. I didn't see gossiping. I just saw authenticity.
Yes. Unlike the sometimes hypocritical behavior that you sometimes see.
Yeah. And they spoke about one of the things that Chiara Lubick, the person who started this, the Focolare, I learned a lot about her those days because I was asking a lot of questions because I wanted to know more. Like I was so
What's
intrigued.
Her name?
Chiara Lubick.
Chiara Lubick. Where's she from?
Italy.
Italy. Okay. Yeah. And so you researched on her.
I was just asking people there.
Okay.
And they would just say, oh yeah, she used to tell us this and this. Or like she used to say that when you go to mass, like don't do like many Catholics who they go to Sunday mass and then they get home and they take off their coat and put it there and then they are a different person. No, like we have to be the same person all week long.
Don't just be a Sunday Catholic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
many like of those little things, or like one thing that they told me also was when you go home, like don't worry about telling much, of what happened here. Your life has to tell people. Like it's your life that has to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And like the world is full of good preachers. A lot of people speak so well.
Yes.
What the world needs is someone who lives and gives that witness of God. So that's something that really attracted me to. And I tried it. Like I went home and I remember like my sisters are asking me, so tell us more about it. Because usually when I came back from a retreat, I was all like jumping and so excited.
Yes.
And that time I was like quieter and they were like, did you like it?
Oh.
And I said, I loved it.
It was more internal.
Yeah, I think so. And one of the things they spoke a lot about was to put into practice the words of Jesus. And so one word of Jesus that really touched me is when he says, whatever you did to the least, whatever you do to the least, you do to me. And that I thought, okay, so it means like Jesus is present, like in you. Like now I'm talking to you and Jesus is there. And so at home, I remember I used to argue with my dad a lot because, I liked parties and all of that, and he not always agreed with me. So I would just fight back. And then I thought, if Jesus is in my dad, I cannot fight back with Jesus. So let me try to listen to him and to understand. And so I did, like I tried my best. Didn't, it was not an overnight change.
Oh, it was difficult. Yeah, you're a teenager.
Yeah.
I'll take it from me, somebody who's had their share of fighting with their parents. Yeah.
And my mom too, like I would help her, just like make my bed, like keep the house clean, because it's not that I never helped her before, but now there was like another intention. Like I was doing that for Jesus. So it was just like different, And I remember my mom told me after a couple of months, she told me, I think next year, I'll try that Mariapolis thing.
Oh, there we go.
I want to know what they did to you. Like, so she really
saw a change.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did your sisters say that as well?
They didn't tell me.
Oh,
but they little by little, all of them. Like the following year, my mom came with me and one of my sisters. And then the other one went to another Mariapolis. So like 4 of us in the house were trying to live that same spirituality. And then the other 2 later, like in the years after, they also. So now basically everybody knows it, and they've
been through it
in different levels of participation. But they all, and even my father, he like at first, because it's not that I went to that retreat and already wanted to consecrate myself. No, like no way.
Yeah,
like,
it's a process still.
No, it took some time, because I thought I still wanted to get married. I always wanted to get married. So, but my dad, I remember, so a year after, I told, I started already feeling some sort of, is Jesus calling me to something like that? Like, I started.
It took a year or so.
It took even less than that for those thoughts.
Okay.
I had that like pretty soon. I remember calling my uncle and telling him, so what's going on in the Focolare? Like, nobody's inviting me for anything. Like, is there anything going on? And then he told me, oh, because in my city, they didn't have the consecrated people living there. They were like 3 hours away. So it's not that I went there very often. But my uncle would just tell me, Joelma, try to first put into practice whatever you learned.
Okay.
And then little by little, you'll get in touch, you'll have another retreat or something. But I found out that they go to Mass. They would go to Mass every day at the cathedral. So I started going to Mass.
How far was the cathedral from you?
So, well, actually, I was working. So I worked during the day.
Okay.
And at that time, I had finished high school already, and I was just taking a course, and I was working during the day.
Okay.
So I finished work at 6, and Mass started at 6.
Oh boy.
So I had to get a bus. And so I would like run, like after work, I would just run, get into the bus. And then from the bus stop to the cathedral, there was a little hill. And I was literally
running up the hill.
Yes.
Oh boy. Did you try to sneak out of work early just to?
No, because I had learned that to do the will of God, I had to
follow the rules.
Yeah.
Was this the same job, the clothing store?
No, it was already another kind.
Okay. And so you're running up the hill after rushing to the bus, getting on the bus, riding the bus, running up the hill.
Yeah.
How late were you for Mass?
So I used to get there it was not so far away. So like at 6:15 or 6:20 the most.
Okay.
I would get there and I would feel bad to get there and go for communion because, I'm so late, so I can't go for communion. So one day I still remember like running up the hill and thinking, is it really worth it to run, to go to Mass? And then I get there, I can't even get communion because
You're embarrassed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm late. And then all of a sudden, I had this image of, this memory of Zacchaeus. He went up the tree. He climbed the tree only to look at Jesus. He only saw Jesus. That's all he wanted, was to see Jesus.
Yeah.
And
Because he was a
so,
short man, right?
yeah.
Yes, that's why. Yes.
And I just thought, I want to run and go there just to see Jesus. And I will see him, because usually I got there at the moment of the consecration.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you missed all the readings and the gospel as well.
Many times I missed everything.
Oh,
but
wow.
I just went anyway. And so just the fact of running there to see Jesus. And sometimes I got there a little bit earlier and I was able to go for communion. But my father was really impressed that I started going to Mass every day, because he went to Mass every day, but none of us daughters went to Mass every day, and I was the first one going to Mass every day. And no one in the Focolare told me to go to Mass, but I just felt that was what I was supposed to do.
Wow.
And so, I started going to Mass every day.
How old were you at this point?
I was still, it was right after that. I was still 18.
18?
Yeah.
Okay, for an 18-year-old to decide to just leave work, rush onto the bus, run up a hill just to get to Mass on a daily basis. Wow. There must have been some kind of fire in you at that point.
Yeah, and only later, I realized that the people, the just small group of people, they were maybe 6 people, counting my uncle. They were all adults, all older than me. But there was something special about them, and I just felt attracted to follow them, to do what they were doing. And then only later on, I realized that in the Focolare, we talk a lot about having the presence of Jesus among us. Whatever 2 or more are united in my name, I'm there. So for us, we really believe that Jesus is here. If we ask him to be with us, Jesus is present, he's a person here. And so looking back, I see that I did not see, but Jesus was there present among them. And Jesus was the one attracting me to them, to that group of people. Because there was nothing, they're older than me.
You didn't have anything in common, really.
Yeah. And then going to, to Mass every day and beginning my relationship with Jesus, more and more, that led me to later discern that God was calling me.
So how did you enter the group formally?
So first, I just started participating with the young adults.
Okay.
So I would, the first time, my uncle was going to the other city to visit the house of consecrated men. The women lived in another city, so he was going to that one. So I said, can I come with you? So I went with him, and I entered that, we call Focolare Center or Focolare House, just like the one we have here in Houston, but it was men, a group of men. And I entered that house, and I just felt the presence of Jesus there. And I remember walking to the kitchen, and one of them was cooking dinner, and he had his apron on. Already I was oh, I have never seen my dad cooking dinner. And I was already impressed, but there was something else. I felt, this is I don't know. I really feel the presence of God in this house.
There was something in the air.
Yeah.
Is your uncle, I should have asked this earlier, is he a consecrated man?
So he was married. He was I don't remember if he was already married or he was about to get married. He was maybe he was 24. He was still young.
Okay.
Because my mom is the oldest and he is the youngest.
Okay, so he was kind of like your cousin.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's probably, I don't know, 6-7 years older.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was getting married. So he and his wife were part of the
community
of the
Okay.
Yeah.
He was just dedicated to the community and he brought you in.
Yeah.
So he brought you it was a tour, I suppose, when
so
the first time you went there.
Yeah. I went to get to know them, had dinner with them. I don't even remember what else we did, but then went home. And then eventually I went to the women's Focolare in the other city. got to know them a little bit more. And I just told them, invite me for whatever you do.
Uh-huh.
So they would just invite me for the retreats, and all with the young women. We did a lot of some with altogether young adults, but many of only young women. Like, in Brazil, Carnival is very big. It's
Okay.
like actually happen now these days.
Uh-huh.
Today, right? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, you're talking about the rodeo.
No, the Carnival in Brazil.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
right now?
Mardi Gras.
Oh, Mardi Gras. Okay.
Yeah, it's really big and kind of bad. Like, it's not so good. A lot of like bad stuff happens there. So we would, the young women would travel somewhere else, and we would do like a retreat during those days, because there were like days off.
Do your own thing.
Yeah.
Something completely the opposite of this. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So those, we would go for many of those things with the young women, just like to go deeper into relationship with God and learn more about the spirituality, like the spirituality of the Focolare, like how to love, to love the others, how to put into practice Jesus' words. And it was, so my involvement was more like with the young adults, without thinking of consecrated myself. But then in that, after a year that I was just living like that, I went to my second Mariapolis. So my mom was there and my sister went with me.
Nice.
And the last day of the retreat, I was speaking with one of the consecrated women there, and I told her, I don't know, it seems like there is something going on here. I am afraid to say, like that this might be some sort of vocation, but there's something here. And so she invited me. She said, why don't you take a break with school and have because I was also struggling with school and work. I was sharing with her all of that. And she said, just take a break and go and live with a group of young women who live very close to the Focolare house.
Okay.
So that you could have more, be in touch and have like some time of discernment, just like for yourself. And I said, okay, I
kind
can
of
do
immersion of sorts.
Yeah, like to learn more the spirituality, and also to see if that is something that really, that I was not inventing, but God was really trying to tell me something. And so I did. I said, yes, okay, I would love that. So I remember going to tell my mom. So I told my mom, so I'm going to go just for a semester. I'll go to Porto Alegre. It's like 8 hours away from my city. I'll go there and live in this apartment with these young women who are, all of them live the spirituality of the Focolare, just to learn a little bit more. And my mom started crying. Like crying.
Is that good tears or bad tears?
And I was like, Mom, what's the matter? Like, it's only a semester.
Oh, she thought you were leaving to disappear into the convent.
And then I told her, it's only a semester. And she said, I know it's not only a semester.
She knew.
Yeah.
She saw it in you, in your, oh, wow. She knew it was coming. She was just waiting for it. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And then, but I was like, but it's still okay that I go? And she said, yeah, I'm happy that I'm happy, but she was crying.
Of course, yeah. I'm sure she saw the transformation in you, and she knew it was just a matter of time before you took that step.
Yeah.
And from then on, it was no looking back, huh?
Yeah. I never came back. I just came back to pick up my things.
Wow.
Once in a while, I would call her because I needed money. And Mom, can you sell my thing, whatever I had? Can you sell that for me and send money because I need money? So it's just that, yeah.
So you didn't go back to school after that, or?
So my high school was in Brazil. We have this high school that prepares you to be a teacher.
Okay.
So I was a teacher, like elementary school teacher.
Okay.
But I still had to go to college, like to finish college. But the Focolare told me, since you do have a profession, like you can. But those 6 months was not yet like, for sure, I was just discerning.
Of course.
But then when I said, like when I went to a more formal retreat, the person responsible for me, like for that region, she told me, Joelma, if you, I was doing in Brazil for university, I needed to change university because I moved to another city, so I had to go to another college. And it's not that easy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Transferring is
And in Brazil, they have this big test that you take to enter university. It's called the vestibular. And when you pass, your name goes on the newspaper. There is pages and pages of the newspaper with a list of names there.
Oh, sort of like an entrance exam, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was I was away for that retreat, and I called one of the girls who stayed behind, and I told her, can you please let me know when the newspaper arrives, and then look for my name there, and then to let me know. Because so this was the proposal from my director. She said, if you pass the exam, it's clear that God wants you to enter university and, continue your journey here until you already finish school, and then you can go for your formation. But if you don't pass, that might be a sign that God wants you to already go. And I was so nervous.
I can imagine, because it's in the newspaper too. That's kind of embarrassing if everybody knows that you didn't make it.
Yes.
So
I went to call, and my friends were with me. I think there were maybe it's at least 6 of my friends were all around me.
Sorry. No, that's fine.
And so I called, and so did I pass? Is my name there? And so on the other line, she said, oh, well, actually, no, your name is not there. And so I just covered the phone, and I told my friends, I didn't pass. And so the reaction of my friends, they were like, yeah.
Oh, because they wanted you to... That's hilarious. They wanted you to stay with them and not enter the community.
They were not, no, the contrary.
Oh.
They knew that I was supposed to be a Focolarina.
Okay.
And so they wanted me not to go back to university, but
go to
formation.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah, and so for me, it was an encouragement, because I was hesitating. Oh my gosh, is this really what God wants for me? I always wanted to get married, and now I'm giving up everything to go. Is this really what God wants for me? I was hesitating a lot. But seeing how my friends were so sure that I had a vocation, that I still didn't see it clear, and they were so happy that I didn't pass the university, which is crazy, right? They were so happy for me, and so all of a sudden, there was a joy inside of me, and I thought, okay, it seems like God wants me here.
It's kind of like your mom. Your mom knew already that was going to be your path, and your friends knew it as well. And you just didn't see it.
I just didn't see it clearly. Yeah.
Wow. And then from then on, you just entered the community.
Yeah. So from then on, I started there. So in São Paulo, in Brazil, there is we have a center of the Focolare there. So I started there, and I started learning Italian, because then I would go to Italy for the final 2 years that we have school of the spirituality and the doctrine of the church and all of that.
So 2 years in Italy?
Yeah. So actually I stayed 5 years in Italy.
Wow.
Yeah, because I stayed for those 2 years, and then I stayed longer. Sorry.
Where in Italy is that?
It's near Florence.
Okay. Okay. And then in this time before, you entered the community, did your ex-boyfriend try to get back with you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How did he?
But actually, okay, this is embarrassing, but I had other boyfriends after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So of course you weren't sure, right?
Yeah.
You still dated around a little bit.
I dated around, yeah. And actually I had one boyfriend. My last serious boyfriend was a short period of time, but I think if I got married, that was going to be the one, because it felt more like the right person.
Okay.
Because also he started living that same spirituality, so it was more pure, our relationship. He never tried anything more like the other guys had tried before, even talking about purity. He was really loving and not.
Okay.
It was a pure relationship. And so I thought, that would have been my husband.
But what happened? Why
But
didn't it work
then
out?
God, I don't know, moved things inside of me, and I just felt like I have to try this out. Like I have, and I told him, and it was so nice because I went to him and I said, I feel like we need to break up. And then I told him also, like I'm feeling some things, and I think God wants to tell me something, and it was so easy. Like he was not like the other guys who really wanted to convince me to stay with him. No, he was very gentle, and he said, no, it's okay, it's completely okay, and we still became, continue being friends, and it was really good. So that was another sign. Like it was so easy to break up.
Oh, okay. Yes. That was a big sign for you that this was the right thing to do. Whatever happened to him? Did he get married? Did he enter the community?
Yeah. So after like years, like my sisters would tell me, Joelma, he's not getting married. I think he's still waiting for you. And I remember when I went home for the first time, I was in São Paulo, and I went home like after 2 years, I think. I was so afraid. I was afraid to see him. I was afraid that I was going to fall back into.
Okay.
And I remember like going to one of the directors in São Paulo, and I told her like, I'm afraid to go home. And she gave me it's like one of the first early letters of Chiara Lubeck to the group of young women who were discerning.
Okay.
And she talks about virginity. And it's like a very beautiful letter. And she made a copy and she gave me. And so I took it home and I read that letter like every single day. And he came to visit. He came to my house, and I was,
here we go.
Here we go. So he came to my house, and I was by myself. My parents are not home. My sisters are not home. Somehow, like I was by myself, and he was there. And we just ate dinner together. We spoke, and it was completely peaceful and normal, and
no pressure.
And so nothing happened. So I was really grateful for that letter on virginity that really encouraged me to just, this is it, like God, I felt God really called me to this. And so this is what I want. And yeah.
And he didn't say anything or anything?
Right, anything. No, he was very loving and gentle. And yeah.
Okay. And any of the other ex-boyfriends try to come?
No, they didn't. Once in a while, there are 2 of them who found me on Facebook.
Okay.
Even recently, like last year, one of them found me on Facebook and started writing to me. And I replied politely. And when I went home, I saw him too, but no. Nothing. Yeah.
Did they end up getting married eventually?
Yes,
or
all of them are married, except from one. Yeah, one of them didn't get married, but all of the others. Yeah.
He's still waiting for you, you think?
I don't think so. At this point, so many years have passed. I don't think so. No.
So what brought you to Houston? How did you move from 5 years in Italy, you said? Yeah,
so in Italy, I stayed because here is another part of my story. Remember I said I like to dance, and
yes.
When I was little, my parents couldn't afford, and I just felt like saying my yes fully to God was also leaving behind that part, my desire to dance.
Okay.
I was giving away, because entering consecrated life, I would never imagine that I would dance again. So I remember really giving that to Jesus. So guess what? When I was in Italy, the Focolare has a performing group. So they are made up of consecrated women.
Okay.
One, and there is another group, a band that is the men, the consecrated men.
Okay.
So one of the girls who was she danced in that group. She got sick and she had to have an operation, and so she couldn't dance for at least a year. So I was in my second year of school of formation with the Focolare, and they invited me. They asked, would you mind like replacing her? Because we really need someone to
Did they
dance."
know that you could dance?
Well, I always did some performance for, when the guests came.
Okay.
Or like when the group of Brazilians went to Italy, we prepared a dance, and we, during one of the events, we performed that dance. And so they saw me on stage, and so they saw that I could dance. So they asked me to be part of that.
And how long were you with them?
So I was with them for 4 years.
4 years. So that 6 months turned into 4 years.
Yes. So that 6 months was just that first part while I was still like in my school. And then when I became formally, I entered one of the Focolare communities. Then I continue. Like they asked me, like, can you continue because now you already learned, and so it would be really helpful.
So where does this group perform? What do they do?
So they basically bring the gospel message to a young audience. So we would go like all over Italy. We went, like in my years, we went to Germany, Switzerland, Portugal, Austria. So we learned, I learned to sing in German because I sang for Mass. During the concert, I would dance mostly.
Okay.
And in that time when I entered, we actually it was a musical, and we were sharing about the story of the Focolare, how it started during World War II. So it was like that story. So I was one of the students, the group of first girls who started. So I was one of them. So I danced for the whole performance.
That's cool. So you use the art form to minister, to get the message out there.
Yes.
That's better than like a lecture or something like that. Yeah. So music, dance, and performance. And you did that for 4 years.
For 4 years there in Italy. And then my director asked me, they need someone in New York. Would you be happy to go? And then I said yes to Jesus for whatever he asks me for. So if it's New York, I'll go to New York. So I came to New York in 2001, like the New Year's Eve of 2001.
Wow.
2000 to 2001. So
right at the turn of the century.
Yeah. So when I was in New York, it was upstate New York. So we have a center there. And since I was still young, I was still in my 20s, like late 20s. And the woman who was responsible, there is always like 2 people responsible for a center of Focolare. So that is usually from the women's side and from the men's side, they work together. So the woman told me, Joelma, so you dance. Can you help our young people? Can you do something, some workshops with them or some performances? So I started doing something, and it was one of the most beautiful experiences for me. Because I was not formally, I only learned in Italy, with that, since they were professional, they really taught me, I had my whole training, ballet training. And in those 4 years, basically, I only learned, but I didn't know that I was capable of making something myself, creating a dance from scratch. I didn't know that.
Wow.
And so when they asked me, I was really scared. I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I have never choreographed anything. And to me, it was just the most beautiful experience with Jesus, to be there by myself and praying, please, help me, because I don't know what I'm going to do. And then something would just come up. I would have ideas and...
Wow. Yeah. Isn't that funny? How when you entered the community, you thought you were leaving dance behind, Little to know that you would be going to Italy to study dance.
Yes.
And to use dance as an art form to preach,
Mm-hmm.
to spread the word, to minister to people.
Yeah.
Wow, how God moves in wonderful ways. Yeah. And from New York, you came to Houston.
Yes. So in New York, let me just share this experience that I like sometimes like creating was that moment of union with God that sometimes was like stronger than when I was in church. Like sometimes I would cry, like while I was on stage.
Performing.
Not performing, but creating.
Okay.
Like, creating, like thinking, okay, what steps should I do now? Like what, and just writing down like all my ideas and the steps and this and that. And one year I made up a whole dance on the nativity. So like beginning from the Annunciation and then the Visitation and everything, like Mary telling Joseph what happened and everything. So I would like sometimes just it was like prayer for me, like dance was prayer. So It was, a beautiful. So that was also something that made my relationship with God grow a lot.
Were you in New York during 9/11? You said you were there.
I was, yeah. So I was in upstate, like I lived in Hyde Park. So It's like over an hour away from. So it was, I was not in the city, but it was.
You were there. Did you know anybody who?
No, all of our like people of our community, we had Focolare houses in New York too, but they were all safe and
they were not anywhere near. What was it like from where you were during 9/11?
It was like for everyone, it was like living in something unreal. Like it was just like it didn't seem to be real. Like what we saw, because we saw on the TV, like the whole world, like my family was calling me from home, like, what's going on? Like, how are you? And I said, I'm fine. Like, I'm far away. Like, I'm not.
Okay.
But for everyone else, especially for those, because I had just came here, so I think it was not so strong for me as for everyone else who lived there.
Yes.
For years.
Who are attached, yes.
Yeah. So like for them, it was so painful. And so for me, it was just like live that moment with them, just be there for them.
Did it affect your ministry and what y'all were doing?
No, I don't think so. It gave us more opportunities to love other people. So it affected in a positive way, I think, because we did so much more like for peace, awareness, and prayer for those who lost their loved ones, and more in that sense of like helping
and comforting the community.
Yeah.
So what brought you to Houston? How did you go from New York to Texas?
Like when one person moves, it's like a domino effect.
Okay.
So so someone needed to go to Japan, and then the person who was in Chicago replaced that one, and then the person who was in Houston replaced the one in Chicago, and then I came to.
Okay.
Yeah, so that happens. I think like God tells us his will through circumstances many times.
So you were just shuffled around and you ended up here in Houston. And how long have you been here?
It's been, I think it's going to be 7 years now. Yeah.
7 years now. Are there any plans of you being shuffled again? You never know.
Only God knows.
Tell us about the Focolare. A little more about the community.
Okay. So the Focolare was born in Italy, like during World War II. And well, maybe like I can tell about something before that. So Chiara Lubick, when she was 18, she went on a retreat in Loreto, in Italy.
Okay.
So the tradition says that the angels brought the little house of Nazareth to Loreto.
Okay.
So then Chiara later researched on it, and she found out that it was a family whose last name is Angels. So the angel's family brought the house. But in that moment, she just, she was 18 and she just believed the angels brought the house of Nazareth to that place. And she, during that retreat, there was one moment that she went to that little house and she was just like overwhelmed by the divine atmosphere that was there. And she just like, she could imagine like Mary walking and doing some things in the house and maybe singing. And she could see like Jesus, little Jesus walking around the house, and then Joseph working. And she just had that strong like commotion. And she said, I was crying and crying. I was like overwhelmed by that joy and by that supernatural. Like there was something divine there that she could not touch. And she felt in that. So she said during the retreat, every break, she, instead of doing her break, she would run to that little chapel and stay there. She would touch the walls and just be there. And then she just imagined like, this is a house of 3 virgins. There is Mary, there is Joseph, and then there is Jesus with them. And so she saw her vocation. She just felt God was telling her, this is how you're going to be. Like you're going to live in a house of virgins and Jesus will be always present among you. So she went back home and she met with her spiritual director. And her spiritual director knew that she had a vocation that she was discerning. And so he said, so did you find your vocation? And she said, yes. And he said, so it's to enter a convent? And she said, no. So it's to get married? No. So it's to be like a consecrated virgin in the world, like maybe living with your family? She said, no. And he was like, this is all we have in the church, like to offer you. And she said, I don't know, but none of this, but I feel that I found my vocation. So that was like the first, like the first beginning. Then after a few years so the war was like in full, and she was doing an act of love, actually. Her mom asked one of her sisters to go to get the milk. And it was like walking, I think, a kilometer, and it was snowing, it was cold, to get like the bottle of milk. And none of the girls wanted to go. And Chiara overheard. Chiara was in another room, like studying, because she studied philosophy and to enter the Catholic university at that time. And so she just got up and said, Mom, I'm going to go. So she put her coat on and she went. And on her way to pick up the milk, she stopped by, there is this little statue of Our Lady. And she stopped there just, to pray or to just look at her. And she felt like a strong call, give yourself completely to me. And she felt like Jesus was telling her, like through Our Lady. And so she went home and wrote a very, how do you call it? Like a very, she was like so excited about that. That she wrote that letter to her spiritual director.
Something very heartfelt.
Yeah. And so then she met with the priest, and anyway, they got the priest spoke with another elderly priest to get his confirmation, and they got they gave her the permission to take her vows, and like they gave her permission to take her vows forever. Just like that.
Wow. And at this point, this was kind of a radical idea, huh?
Yeah, because there wasn't anything like that in the church. So she took her vows on December 7, 1943. So that like dates the beginning of the Focolare movement. Like she had no idea. Like she always says, if I knew that a movement would come after that, maybe I would be disappointed, because in that moment, I was so happy to marry God. Like God was all I wanted. And I was so extremely happy that that was it. I didn't need anything else. But then with the years, then they told her, you should start writing your statutes, because there was a group already like around her, like
Who wanted to do something similar. Yes.
Yeah. So then it became like with the years, it formally, but in the beginning, it was just like her yes to God, like to live for him completely. And to help people, because during the war, you can imagine how many occasions now you have.
Yes. Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah. So she had a little gospel. In those years, people didn't carry the gospel around. Like lay people didn't have the Bible at home.
Okay.
So she had one, and she had always inside of her pocket, because during the war, the alarms, no, the sirens would go off many times during the day. So they would have to run to the shelters. So what she would do, she would have her group of friends, and they would read the gospel. So that was like the beginning of the Focolare. This in the shelters,
Wow.
a small group of people with a candlelight, and they would just read the gospel. And then one day she said, let's start really living like this. What Jesus is telling us. Not only read here and just like be consoled by this and just meditate on his words, but let's go out there and put into practice. So they started doing that and see how true the gospel was, just like, I don't know, during the war, everything was missing, So like they would help people. So they would bring, I don't know, there are so many stories of them giving away giving away their coats and their gloves. And then someone would bring a bag full of clothes. And so they would have more, so they could give more. Like she would say that in their house, in the entrance, there was a lot of bags of food and clothes, and they would just go to the poor and and help people during the war. So that is how it started.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yes.
So what vows do you take?
So it's the evangelical concept, so vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience.
Okay. And what does that mean in a world where you're not in a convent? How do you follow that? Good question.
Yeah, so poverty. So we wear regular clothes. No, we don't wear habit. And basically it's for us, because we work in regular jobs. So we use this sentence from St. Paul to make ourselves one with the others.
Okay.
So like to make, like he would say, no, I made myself Jew with the Jews, and like to make ourselves one. So we go in the, like when I worked in the art field, especially in the performing arts, I had, to wear makeup and all of that. For the nurses, they have to, be with. So you
don't stand out.
Yeah. Okay. We're just like everybody else.
Okay.
Yeah. And which sometimes is good, because people feel more comfortable to come and talk to us.
That's true.
Other times, for other people, it's very good if they see a nun with habit, and they will feel, oh, she will understand me, and then she goes. So there are different, for some people that works, and for other. So for me, for example, when I was working with ceramics, I remember how one of my teachers, he knew me for like a few years, because I came to his classes for many years. And only at the end, he found out that I was. So I shared with him, and after I shared, he was like, I knew that there was something, but I couldn't find out what was it. So, okay, now it explains everything. And I remember one day, one of my classmates was asking him, I cannot pick up my ceramic pieces. Do you think I could ask one of my classmates? And he said, oh, ask Joelma. She will do it. So like he knew that he told me that I was different, like that I was.
He knew you were a generous, kind, and loving person. And
so like that. But to go back to your question, so poverty, we do have our essential things, but we, like every one of us, have our our salary at the end of the month. It goes straight to one account.
Okay.
And we only have a quota.
Okay, an allotment for...
Yeah,
okay.
so we pay, for the house, maintenance and cars. And we do buy clothes when it's necessary. We do buy clothes, but usually we live by communion of goods.
Okay.
So we put things in common.
Okay.
So also with our larger community, I don't know, not one of the main things of living our poverty is not to be attached to some things. So not to be attached. So I might have things, but I'm not attached to them.
Okay.
I have them just because it's useful. Or a friend gave me this watch.
Okay.
I didn't necessarily need it, but she wanted me to have it, so I have it, but I'm not attached to it. Or my phone, or so not being attached to whatever we have. Even a very recent experience. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Florida for a course, and I was wearing a T-shirt that said something nice. And this woman was like, "I love your T-shirt. I love your T-shirt." So I just felt, like I need to give her this T-shirt because I also love it. And it could be that I am attached to it. So the last day, it was graduation day. And so I made a little, package and I gave it to her. You
gave her the shirt.
Yeah. So part of being detached of everything that we have.
From material things, yes.
And it was so nice because when I came home, one of the married Focolarinas, she came to the house and she was wearing a very nice sweater. And I looked at it and I was like, "Oh, that's such a nice sweater." I didn't say it because it was not the right moment to say it. But the following week, guess what? She came to the house with a bag of clothes to do her communion of goods, because they do very often this. I just went through my clothes and I just wanted to put this in common because
you don't need it.
Really, I don't need it. So guess what? That's what it was inside there. So I just felt like Jesus knew that I liked it, and he wanted to give me that sweater. So that is the way of living poverty, of not being attached and wait for him to send me what I need when I need.
That's cool.
And then,
so you got poverty. What else do you have?
And then poverty, chastity. So of course, to being chaste in our case, because of course we don't have a husband, but there is that other chastity that is, we call it chastity of God, to really have to live that purity of spirit.
Okay.
That is also detachment from people, because you can be a holy person, but then you can be attached to people.
Okay.
And to me is that not staying with, there are so many people that I worked better with.
Okay.
Even within my community now, I remember that there was a young woman who lived in my community here in Houston a few years ago. And we worked so well together. It was so easy, it was just easy to work. And so, there might be some attachment there too. And so to love everyone the same.
Not just people you're on the same wavelength with. Okay.
So to have that love that is the same for everyone. And I mean, I one of the passages of the scriptures, when Jesus was suffering because John the Baptist had died, and he went to a deserted place to pray by himself. But then he saw the multitude, he saw all the people, and he was moved by compassion for them. So he was able to forget his own feelings and love the people. And then the miracle of the multiplication of loaves happened. So to me, that is a big example of forgetting myself, my preferences, my attachments, my desires to be here instead of being there, or to being with this person or the other person, my desires maybe to be with people that are nicer instead of people that are
okay, yes.
So all of that, to love everyone the same. So that is my chastity. And then obedience is, first of all, like obedience to God, no? Like to doing His will in every moment.
Yes.
If now His will is to be here with you, so I've been here like fully without thinking of other things.
Okay.
So work fully, or even in front of a traffic light, right? Like stop when it's red. So like to be obedient to God.
Yes.
And but then like within the community is to be obedient also to our superior. Like we don't call superior, it's usually like the person responsible for the community. So even when like in our case, it's not that we are told like you have to go to, like now if they tell me you have to go to China because they really need you there, I would say I can go, but I have stomach problems. I don't know if the food there will be good or this and that. So we would talk about it and try to understand with the presence of Jesus among us. Like Jesus would tell us, me and her, like what is like in New York, for example. It was hard for me to shovel the snow. Like for 8 years I lived there.
Yes.
And like to shovel the snow, like it was really hard. A lot of snow and so cold. And at a certain point I said, I don't know if I can be here for so long.
And keep shoveling every year.
Yeah, so it was only my like 3rd year there. And my director said, oh, Joelma, it would be really good if you could stay longer. So that was like, I obeyed in that case. But then I was so happy to be there. It was great. And all my experience that I just shared about my dance and all of that. And so it's like saying yes to the will of God and finding the 100-fold that He promised. No, Jesus said, like, who ever leaves father and mother and children and brothers and sisters will get 100 times more. So for me, it's always like to get all of that. It's such a gift to have more. Like I didn't have brothers, but now I have so many brothers. I work with Father Richard. Like he's really like my brother, and many other men who are in the Focolare. So there are many of brothers, many fathers and mothers and sisters. And so it's just like so beautiful to have that. Yeah, to have taken these vows of not having anything, but then having everything, basically.
That's awesome. So tell me about your work here in Houston.
So
in the Chancery, where we are right now.
Yes, we're right here. So I work for Vocations. So I think I told you in the beginning that our charism is unity. Did I tell you this? Probably not.
I'm not sure. I don't think
but
so.
I told you.
We've had a journey.
I know. I think I told you that each one of us, we work in our own profession. So I have like in the house, there is a teacher, there is an engineer. And
oh, yes.
Yeah. And so I happen to work for the church. So actually my profession, I would be an artist. So like that's what I work. I worked with clay a lot. So my degree is, I have an art degree and like sculpture is like my focus. But I worked a lot with clay, like with ceramics. I love making ceramics.
Okay.
So that was my job. And I saw an email message from Father Jesse, one of the priests here. And he told me, Joelma, Father Richard is looking for someone to work at the vocations office. Is any Focolarina looking for a job? And I told him, I'm actually looking for a job, but not for the church. Like I'm looking in an art field. Like I applied to the Museum of Fine Arts and to a few galleries, and that's what I'm looking at. And so I was typing, I was like, no, I don't think so. And then halfway through, I just deleted my email and I just told him, it's true, like I was not looking for a job in the church. But I'm open to whatever God wants. So if that is something, He wants, I will. So basically, I was not looking for a job in the church because I felt I need to bring Jesus somewhere else.
Okay.
Like the art field is so needed of God
Okay.
there. And so I always felt this, if I can bring God there in an environment where
That's mostly
sometimes,
secular.
yeah.
Yes.
So that was like so it's not that I didn't want to work for the church, but I just felt, I
Yes.
studied art so I can work there.
Uh-huh.
But then I spoke with my director too, and I prayed about it. And the more I prayed, the more I felt this, I am supposed to come here and work here. So I said yes.
With
So
Father Richard McNeely,
with Father Richard.
He's the director of vocation.
Yeah, so Father Richard is the director, and I'm his associate. And I work, a lot of our work is to work for the seminarians, for all the candidates who will come to the seminary, but also for young people in general who are discerning their vocation. So our goal is that every young people in our archdiocese is able to discern their vocation, whether getting married or priesthood, religious life, consecrated life in general.
So it's not necessarily pushing them towards religious life, but just finding what God wants for them.
What God wants from them, yeah. And one of the things that I brought to this work is a group called the Samuel Group. It's for young adults who are discerning. So it's a 6-month program of discernment, and it's a very good program. So we did the first year, it was a smaller group and only for the girls, only for young women. And then it went very well. So we kept doing the second year for young women. And then the third year we thought, how about doing also for young men? So now we do have this discernment group called Samuel Group. Samuel, yeah.
Okay.
For men and women. So we still meet in different rooms most of the time. And then it's like having a mini retreat every month. It's really good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that is.
Is it just a one-day thing or?
One evening for 6 months.
Okay.
But then during those 6 months, the person also goes for spiritual direction and has like there is a journey, like it's a 6-month journey. It's a commitment. But every single person who did it just like loved it. And some of them got out of the group with a clear idea of what their vocation might be.
Where God wants them to go.
Others not yet, but like they're in the journey. So
yes, of course. It's a process for everyone. Yeah. They have their own time.
Yeah. So I work a lot with young women, especially like all the women's events I organize. But then I also help the seminarians. Like I help also with their program for the new seminarians when they, before they enter the seminary, they have this program that Father Richard and I started. That is the propedeutic. So they live together in a community for a month and a half, more or less. And it's just like a beautiful preparation.
What's it called?
Propedeutic is like the regular terminology for seminaries, like before they enter the seminary.
Okay.
Ours, we also call like a boot camp.
Okay.
It's just like a boot camp for the seminarians to prepare themselves to enter the seminary, which is a very good program. So for that I worked, and also for the Hispanic. So some of the seminarians go to another country to learn Spanish.
Okay.
And learn the culture, also like the Hispanic culture. So that's something that I do too. Yeah, we do a lot. Father
You're
Richard
very busy.
And I
yes.
are very busy. Yeah, it's like a full-time job. Yeah.
So if there's a young person who feels some sort of call and is trying to find what God wants for them, can they contact you here at the Chancery?
They can contact me or Father Richard, and we will guide them through the process. Okay. If they are at the age to enter one of these discernment groups, that would be great. If they are younger than that, we can accompany them in other ways.
Can they find the details on the Archdiocese website? Is that where they would go?
Houston Vocations.
Houston Vocations. Okay.
HoustonVocations.org.
.org.
Oh my gosh, what is that called? I don't know. Houston Vocations.
Okay, just Google Houston
Yes.
Vocations and you should be able to find the chancery and the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our email should be there listed. The easiest way is either email us or call us directly. They can call the office, and usually, like if there are young women, they come and meet with me, and so I can get a first idea if they want religious life, which kind, if like they are more like contemplative life or more active missionaries, or many of them come thinking, I really feel like my vocation is to get married, but how can I be open to both? So we guide them through that process too, like of being open, being in the hands of God for whatever God wants for them, for their future.
So I would assume that a lot of our guests have passed through your office, huh?
Yeah.
So if you look on the YouTube channel, you know a lot of their stories, huh? And you've walked with some of them. That is fantastic to see.
Daniela and Caroline went through the Samuel group. This process, and many of them.
It must be very rewarding seeing the progress of a lot of these people eventually to finding out where they end up.
Yeah, one of the examples is this young woman who, I mean, there would be many examples, but there is one of them who came to some of our retreats. Then she did the Samuel group, and after the Samuel group, she found out her vocation. So she's in a convent now.
Wow.
One of the women who came to my first Samuel group, she asked me to help her a little bit, like in which, how to choose a convent. So I helped her a little bit, and she went to one. And then I remember that she wrote to me, Joelma, I don't know, I'm not sure about this. And then I told her, don't worry, like it doesn't, God wants you to be at home. So if you go to a community and you don't feel at home, that's not your place.
Don't force it. Yeah.
Don't force it and don't feel bad. And the sisters will be happy to know that, they won't want you here if that's not your place.
That's true.
So don't feel bad in telling them.
Yes.
So that's what happened. So she went, and now she's in another convent.
And she found the right fit.
She found the right fit. Yeah. So it's good to see.
Must be extremely rewarding. Wow. Well, thank you for everything that you do for all of the people here in Houston and finding their vocations, and we hope to see and hear from you more.
Yes.
And I'm going to tap you for some future guests,
just
to let you know.
I will. Yes, feel free to do that.
God bless you.
Thank you.